Hi everybody, it's Kris Hicks here, Head of Press and Communications at UKIP, and I'm joined once again by Carl Benjamin, UKIP member, and we're discussing various issues which have come up certainly in the past few days. There's a lot happening. I think the first thing we need to talk about is the votes last night in Parliament. There were a number of amendments that were put ahead. Certainly Labour were talking about opposing what they call a destructive Tory Brexit. Their motion was defeated. What the motion involved was basically adding on elements of staying in the customs union and various other accoutrements which really would have stopped us from leaving in any real sense. That was defeated, unsurprisingly, by 323 votes to 240. There was then another vote. Labour's Yvette Cooper and Oliver Letwin of the Tories put forward a proposal to guarantee May's promise to hold a vote on extending Article 50. It's quite critical. That passed, of course, so there will be a vote certainly on the question of extending Article 50, and that will happen in 2 weeks. There was also another vote, basically went through on the nod, protecting EU citizens' rights. There is general support from that throughout the House, and I think everyone agrees with that going forward. And then it was also very interesting, a bit of a chances one. The Scottish National Party and Plaid Cymru put forward a motion effectively to rule out no deal at any possible date. That was actually defeated as expected as well. So not really many surprises at all. One development, of course, that we've seen is Labour now endorsing a second referendum vote.
Yes.
So what do you think of that one?
Well, the whole thing is mildly baffling, as if these people have never done any kind of deal in their lives, which is what Lord Pearson pointed out to me in my interview with him. The very idea of taking no deal off the table is lunacy, in my opinion, even if it's only a bluff. Because, I mean, like, as Donald Trump showed with the talks with North Korea, he said sometimes you've got to know when to walk away, and you absolutely do, because that's your nuclear option. If that's the last trump card you use against against a negotiating partner who is in no way interested in giving ground. And if there's one thing that we've seen from the European Union, they are in no way interested in giving ground. And so there is absolutely no leverage at all on our side. And I mean, this week I saw a clip of Jeremy Corbyn saying, well, the European Union is very afraid of a no deal, so we're going to make sure that we take that off the table. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? That's how you make them accept us as an equal in the negotiation and give something so we can give in return. I mean, for example, like the rights of European Union citizens in the UK. I mean, that's a non-issue. That's obviously we're going to guarantee their rights. There's no question of it. And then coming on to like Jeremy Corbyn and the second referendum, very disappointing, frankly, and not just because I'm a Brexiteer that I think that. I find this to be a remarkable detriment to Jeremy Corbyn's character, because as the clips that have been going around in the past couple of weeks have shown, Jeremy Corbyn is one of the most fervent Brexiteers in the entire country, calling the European Union an empire and that would be a terrible neoliberal project that we need to be rid of. And honestly, I completely agree with those criticisms. He's absolutely right. And so for him now to tuck his tail between his legs and say, actually, no, a second referendum, it's a totally good idea. In the way I assume he's justifying it to himself is by labelling it, as you said, a Tory Brexit, as if a destructive Tory Brexit, as if we can put all of the bad parts about Brexit onto the Conservative Party, as if the Conservative Party aren't filled with fervent Remainer MPs anyway. So it's a complete mishmash. But the only good thing that comes out of it, in my opinion, is that that Jeremy Corbyn must have been grinding his teeth when he said, yes, okay, I'll back a second referendum, because he doesn't want to.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, this has all come about as well just after we've seen 8 Labour MPs leave the party, form this independent group, this kind of group of Blairites who are opposed to Jeremy Corbyn's direction of the party, but also rabidly opposed to engaging with and actually delivering Brexit. Yeah. The Labour Party, of course, campaigned in 2017 on a manifesto which promised to deliver Brexit. So this is...
to respect the results of the referendum specifically. And now he's completely gone back on that by saying that he'd back a second referendum. And that was one of Jeremy Corbyn's strengths, in my opinion, was the fact that they were going to honour the results. But I mean, you'll notice they've gone down significantly in the polls. I saw one the other day on YouGov, 30%, which is a huge drop.
Absolutely. Well, I saw another poll which actually put the independent group on approximately 14%, which is incredible because this isn't even a political party.
No.
This is just a conglomeration of MPs who happen to agree on this particular issue.
Yeah.
It'd be very interesting. I mean, it would be certainly very difficult at the moment since they're not a political party, but it shows, I suppose, there is a great deal of mileage in terms of forming something which looks like what the independent group stands for. But I think another criticism of Jeremy Corbyn doing this, as I've said before, is in regards to his reactionary response to this. You know, the independent group has been formed. There is no principle in this. This appears to be just pure an attempt, really, to electioneer, to try and stop him losing those potential polling percentages by basically saying, well, okay, fine, we'll endorse this policy. A lot of people, I think, certainly not on UKIP, but I think some people kind of respected Corbyn, that even though he was going down a route which perhaps wasn't so popular with the general populace, you know, that is effectively a far-left economic strategy, at least he was arguing for something that he believed in.
Absolutely. I mean, he was at least putting forward a sort of positive vision, even if I think it would end in chaos and catastrophe. I mean, exactly as you say, at least it was a principled position he was putting forward. But now it is naked politicking. You know, I mean, and to be fair, given the position he's in, you can hardly blame him, really, because the Labour Party appears to be coming apart at the seams. I mean, the ideological divisions. I mean, because people have to understand that the Labour and the Conservative parties, they are big tents that can contain within them a wide variety of sort of ideological positions. And the momentum takeover of the Labour Party, the sort of, I guess, the trots, we could just call them, because they're back. You know, that's what Jeremy Corbyn's faction represents, and they've been very aggressive taking the Labour Party over. They've intimidated other Labour MPs. You know, obviously they're responsible for the anti-Semitism scandal. Because I mean, it's not the Blairites who are anti-Semites. You know, and no one thinks that it is. And so this kind of ideological takeover is just splintering the Labour Party into 1,000 different pieces, and who knows where those pieces are going to land. Well, actually, we know where some of them are going to land, obviously. And Brexit's doing something similar to the Conservative Party, but, you know, I mean, I guess we're just in a state of political flux at the moment, which is good for anyone who's not a member of these parties.
I suppose, but the other side of it, of course, is that it's making Brexit extremely uncertain at this point. In the next 2 weeks, then, we're possibly looking at we're definitely looking at a vote on Mrs May's withdrawal agreement. She still seems adamant that she can kind of bring something from the European Union which will make everyone agreeable to that. I can't see that happening. No. I don't think any political commentator with any credibility would see that happening at present. So, I mean, if that doesn't pass in the next 2 weeks, then we're really looking at then a number of bills which will be introduced into Parliament which will talk about extending Article 50. And I think the real question is, you know, how long will they extend it for? Yeah,
and the European Union is completely on board with the idea of extending it as well. Apart from Macron, actually, but many of the Eurocrats have said that they'd be happy to do this because they understand that this is further delaying Brexit, further strengthening their hand, further weakening ours, and further making it unlikely that Brexit will even happen at all. And so that's entirely in their favour, so they're for it. But Macron is being surprisingly obtuse about this. I saw this today, in fact, where he said he would only agree to an extension with very good reason. And honestly, I mean, I'm in total favour of him saying that because they're trying to rule out a no deal, but every delay and every lack of cooperation in Parliament between themselves brings us closer and closer to the no deal exit that I want, which, in my opinion, should have been what we should have done on day one, and then move forward from that position. So, the quicker we can get to the 29th of March and not have it extended, the better. But honestly, I think that they'll get so scared, but coming up in the week or so before, that whatever they need to rush through to extend it, they'll do, or whatever they need to do to ensure they have the deal, they'll do. I think at the moment they're all posturing, and I think that they think that they can. Effectively, it's a political game of chicken.
Yeah, there is indeed a lot of posturing, and this is part of the negotiating strategy, if you will. My big concern, certainly, and it's interesting with Macron saying he would oppose an extension, is that it requires every single one of the EU member states to agree to an extension. Now, If one says no to that, then are we really on for a no-deal Brexit? Or alternatively, will Mrs May have to put her hand up and say, look, I don't have a mandate for a no-deal Brexit. I'm going to have to cancel Article 50 as the only option. It's very difficult to say, but we're in such murky water, and there's so many ifs, whats, or maybes. Yeah. It's difficult to say. But what I am reasonably confident of, and I'm sad to say this, is that Brexit is probably not going to happen on March the 29th at 11 p.m.
Honestly, I'm afraid of that myself. I mean, I don't know. You know, no one knows. But I mean, if I speak to just so many people, you know, just whenever I'm in my daily life, I talk to people about Brexit, and a lot of the time, people, you know, it's a slightly uncomfortable topic to approach. But these days, people are becoming a lot more open about saying, "Oh, just get on with it. Just leave. You know, I didn't even vote to leave, but now I just want it over." I mean, if Theresa May tomorrow, I think the thing that she could do to strengthen her hand more than anything is just come outside of 10 Downing Street and say, "Look, I've done everything in my power to get the European Union to negotiate, and they have not wanted to do it. And the referendum is there. We've got the date. I have to honour this. Otherwise, I'm betraying democracy in this country. And so we will be leaving on that date, deal or no deal. And then the ball is in everyone else's court, because suddenly then everyone has to run to her. You know, she brings everything to her, and she increases her own prestige and power at that point. But she doesn't seem to have the spine to do it. There's
Well, it's not just about spine. I mean, I approach this certainly from a position of cynicism, really, about the Prime Minister. I mean, I've said it all along, Theresa May was a Remainer, she is a Remainer, and we're effectively got a Remainer doing a Leaver's job. Yeah. So this could all actually be part of a process to basically stifle Brexit and effectively stop Brexit. The chaos is really all about stopping it.
I haven't got any evidence to suggest that. I wouldn't rule it out, obviously, if I was investigating it, but I haven't got any reason to think that's the case. I'm more inclined to think incompetence and weakness at this point, just to give them the benefit of the doubt.